Have you ever felt how fragile your peace can be? How a single word can unravel the calm you worked so hard to build? How one person's silence can echo louder than your own thoughts? You wake up in the morning with a quiet heart. For a moment, there is stillness, the kind that feels like truth. And then the world begins to speak again. A message left unanswered. A glance that felt colder than usual. A small shift in tone. And suddenly, you are no longer where your body is. You are inside the storm. Thinking, replaying, wondering what went wrong. It's strange, isn't it? How much of your life can be altered by things you cannot touch? How easily your sense of worth drifts into the hands of others. You tell yourself this is love. That caring deeply is what it means to be human. That to hold tightly is to keep safe what you value most. But if you are honest with yourself, you can feel the exhaustion beneath the caring. The quiet ache of being pulled in every direction, but the one that leads back to you. There is a kind of love that liberates, and a kind that imprisons. Most of us have only known the latter. We mistake attachment for connection. We mistake control for devotion, and we lose ourselves in the name of love. But what if I told you, your peace was never taken from you? It was handed away, piece by piece, moment by moment. Every time you made the world responsible for your inner calm, you thought love meant holding on. But love, real love, is not a grip. It is an open hand. Detachment is not about closing your heart. It is about opening it so widely that nothing can own it anymore. When you begin to see through the illusion of control, when you begin to understand that everything, people, time, outcomes, moves with its own rhythm, something inside you softens. It is a strange kind of peace. Not loud, not triumphant, but quiet, like a breath that has finally found its way home. Carl Jung said that what we resist persists, and for most of our lives, we have resisted impermanence. We have fought the river, instead of learning to float. But detachment is the art of floating. It is the art of watching life unfold, without needing to seize it. It is the calm acceptance that what is meant for you will never need to be chased. This is not weakness. It is power in its purest form. Because when you stop needing to control life, you finally allow life to show you what it truly is. And so, breathe. Let go of the tension you've been holding. Let go of the names you've built your worth upon. Let go of the idea that peace must be earned. For a moment, feel what it's like to exist without reaching, without waiting, without demanding. That space you feel, that silence, is not emptiness. It is the beginning of freedom. You have not lost anything. You are simply remembering who you were, before you learned to hold on so tightly. Tonight, we begin the journey home, not through attachment, but through release. And so the storm begins to quiet, the wind slow, and you stand there, not as someone trying to control the world, but as someone finally ready to watch it move. There comes a moment in every awakening, when you begin to see that the world you lived in was never truly the world. It was the reflection of your own mind. Every attachment, every wound, every longing you called love was a mirror showing you where your soul was still searching for itself. We are taught from the beginning to attach, to hold names and roles, like fragile glass we dare not drop. Child, student, lover, success. Each identity a mask we polish, so we never have to look at what lies beneath. And beneath, silence. Vast, formless silence. Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. He was not being cruel. He was describing the deepest human truth. Because to look inward is to see how fragile everything we cling to truly is, how temporary, how dreamlike. We attach to people, to beliefs, to the past, because we fear disappearing without them. But who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when the roles fall away? When there is nothing left to perform? Most of us never dare to find out. We mistake motion for meaning, noise for life, and chaos for love. We become addicted to drama, because silence feels unbearable. We crave distraction, because stillness feels like death. And yet, in every heartbreak, in every loss, in every moment when life rips something away, the soul whispers the same quiet truth. You were never that. You were never the job you lost. You were never the person who left. You were never the approval you chased. Those were costumes, worn by something infinite. But because you believed they were you, you suffered when they vanished. Attachment is not love. Attachment is fear. Fear of loss. Fear of emptiness. Fear that without something to hold, you will vanish into nothingness. But the nothingness you fear is not death. It is truth. It is the stillness of being, before thought, before name, before identity. It is what you have always been. To see through the illusion is to watch the walls of your false self crumble. Feels terrifying at first, because the ego built its home upon those walls. But slowly you begin to realize what you thought was your home was your prison. The world does not ask you to stop caring. It asks you to stop clinging, to care without ownership, to love without needing. This is the first glimpse of detachment, when love becomes free of demand, and peace no longer depends on circumstance. It is a shift from control to communion, from fear to awareness, from I need you to I see you. When you begin to live from this space, relationships transform, not because people change, but because you no longer ask them to complete what was never missing. You begin to understand that you can hold someone deeply without losing yourself in the holding, that you can let someone go without closing your heart. Detachment does not mean you stop feeling. It means you stop confusing feeling with identity. You stop letting emotion dictate your worth. You allow joy, pain, anger, love, all of it, to flow through without calling any of it me. And in that space between stimulus and response, you find something sacred, just the choice to stay awake instead of reacting, the choice to observe instead of controlling, the choice to love without needing to own. This is where true freedom begins. But it is only the beginning, because once you see the illusion, you must now walk through it. You must descend into the depth of your own mind and face what you have been running from all along. And so, the next step of this journey is not light, but shadow. The path of detachment will take you into the very heart of fear, the fear of being alone, the fear of losing everything, the fear of nothingness itself. You will not escape it. You will walk through it. And in walking through, you will awaken the power you never knew you carried. This is where the descent begins. There comes a point on this path where awareness stops feeling beautiful. At first, detachment feels like freedom, a breath of lightness after years of suffocating attachment. But soon, the old habits of the heart begin to protest. The ego starts to whisper, "You're losing everything." And in some ways, it's right. You are losing everything. That was never truly you. The faces, the roles, the imagined importance. The world that once made you feel anchored now feels like sand slipping through open hands. This is the descent, the silent unraveling of everything false. It is not a fall. It is a return to the depth you forgot existed beneath the noise. At first, it feels like emptiness. You sit in rooms that once felt alive and feel the weight of absence. Conversations lose their charm. The ambitions that once burned bright begin to flicker and fade, and you start to wonder, what's happening to me? What's happening is purification. Life is teaching you the difference between energy and attachment. The energy of life is always here, flowing, breathing, moving through all things. But attachment is resistance to that flow, is trying to trap the river in your hands. When you let go, the river does not stop. It begins to carry you. But in those early moments, feels like drowning, because your mind was built for control, not surrender. Jung called this the confrontation with the shadow, the moment when the unconscious begins to surface, and everything you avoided seeing in yourself stands before you. You start to notice how much of your kindness was people-pleasing, how much of your ambition was fear of inadequacy, how much of your love was a quiet negotiation, a way to avoid abandonment. It is painful to see these things, but this pain is sacred. It is the surgery of the soul. When you stop running from your shadows, you no longer need the world to hide them. You no longer project your pain onto others to make it bearable. You no longer need to be right to feel safe. You no longer chase validation to silence your self-doubt. You begin to see how attachment was never love. It was camouflage for fear. You held people not because they were your home, but because you were afraid of your own emptiness. You sought certainty not because it was true, but because you couldn't bear the unknown. And then, the silence comes. Not the peaceful silence of meditation, but the raw silence of absence. The sound of nothing left to chase. This is where most turn back. They reach this point, and the loneliness feels unbearable. The mind screams for distraction, for comfort, for noise. But if you stay, if you breathe through the ache, and listen instead of escape, something begins to stir in the darkness. It is faint at first, a pulse, a hum, a warmth beneath the emptiness. That warmth is you, not the image you've built, not the person you perform, but the living presence that existed before all identities. The more you surrender, the clearer it becomes. You start to see that you were never broken. You were just buried beneath expectations, beneath fear, beneath the weight of who you thought you had to be. The descent strips it all away, and in that nakedness, you encounter the most terrifying truth, that you are free. Freedom is not always bliss. At first, it's disorienting. There are no walls to lean on, no roles to hide behind, just infinite space. And within that space, the quiet realization, you are enough as you are. The ego does not die easily. It fights, bargains, clings to memory, but the soul waits patiently. It knows that every illusion must fall before truth can stand. So breathe. Let the walls fall. Let the stories end. Let yourself be rewritten by silence itself. This is not the end. It is the beginning of seeing clearly. In this descent, you do not lose the world. You regain the eyes to see it. You begin to feel what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. Not the perfection of the self, but the integration of all its parts, light and shadow, strength and tenderness, attachment and release. And as you begin to integrate, something shifts quietly. The fear that once ruled you starts to dissolve. The loneliness that once haunted you becomes solitude. The emptiness you feared reveals itself as peace. This is the hidden truth of detachment. It does not take away your humanity. It gives it back to you. Because only when you stop grasping can you finally touch life as it truly is. So rest here, in this space between endings and beginnings. Let what is false fall away. Do not rush to rebuild. Do not beg for the old world to return. Just breathe, be still, and listen to the quiet pulse of your being, returning to itself. For the next part of this journey will not be descent, but transformation, where the darkness becomes light and detachment becomes power, the birth of stillness. There comes a morning after every long night, not a loud one. No thunder of realization, no flash of enlightenment, just the soft unfolding of breath. You wake, and for the first time in a long time, you do not rush to remember who you are supposed to be. You just are. The world outside has not changed, but something within you has shifted, subtly, quietly. The noise that once filled every corner of your mind has softened into stillness. This is transformation, not an explosion of awakening, but a slow returning to simplicity. Jung wrote that the process of individuation is not about becoming perfect, but becoming whole. And wholeness cannot be forced. It grows naturally. When you stop trying to become anything else, you start to notice things you once overlooked. The way sunlight moves across a room, the texture of silence between conversations, the feeling of your own heartbeat. Steady, patient, ancient. There is no hurry here, no comparison, no race toward meaning. You begin to live from a deeper rhythm, the rhythm of being instead of becoming. And in that being, a quiet power begins to rise. It is not the power to control, not the power to win. It is the power to remain centered, in the middle of chaos, to meet life without fear or craving, to stand in uncertainty and still feel whole. You no longer need to fix every emotion. You no longer chase validation. Like a starving heart, you let things come and you let them go. Joy visits, you welcome it. Sorrow arrives, you bow to it. Neither owns you anymore. That is freedom. Not escape from feeling, but the capacity to feel everything without drowning in it. You realize that love too has transformed. It is no longer a desperate grasp for belonging, but a state of grace, the willingness to see another as they are, without trying to possess them. You love with open hands now, because you have learned that what is truly yours will never need to be held tightly. Detachment in its highest form is not coldness, it is clarity. It is seeing the sacred in everything, without needing to own it. You can finally look at life the way the sky looks at the sea, reflecting its storms, but never mistaking them for itself. You begin to understand why loss had to come, why the descent was necessary, because only in losing the false could you rediscover the real. You remember Jung's words, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And now that you've faced the darkness, you see that the light was never missing. It was simply hidden beneath the noise of your attachments. You feel it now, not as an idea, but as a living force within you. A calm that no circumstance can take away, a knowing that no opinion can shake, a peace that does not depend on what happens next. You carry stillness the way fire carries light, quietly, naturally, without effort. This stillness begins to change how you move through the world. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer argue to be right, you listen to understand. You no longer measure your worth by how others see you. You rest in your own being. This is not indifference. It is intimacy with existence, a way of seeing that dissolves separation between you and the world, between you and your pain, between you and the divine. And so, life begins to return to you. But this time it cannot own you. You can walk among desires without being consumed. You can witness beauty without the ache of needing to possess it. You can love the impermanent because you have finally made peace with impermanence itself. This is the quiet revolution of detachment, not a withdrawal from life, but a rebirth into its purest form. You begin to see everything as energy, rising, dissolving, transforming. And in this seeing, you understand that letting go was never the end. It was the beginning of participation without possession, of love without fear, of life without clinging. And one day, perhaps while walking in silence, you feel something unexplainable, a sense of arrival, not to a destination, but to yourself. You realize the journey was never outward. You were not traveling toward peace. You were removing everything that kept you from noticing. It was already here. This is detachment, the birth of stillness, the quiet return to the eternal observer within you. You no longer stand against life. You move with it. You no longer seek the light. You have become it, living without chains. There comes a time when the journey inward no longer feels like a retreat, but a return. You no longer need to escape the world to feel at peace. You walk through it, untouched yet deeply connected, as if life itself breathes through you. This is not transcendence that floats above reality. It is transcendence through it, a freedom that coexists with imperfection, a serenity that holds both birth and death, gain and loss, as sacred equals. You begin to see that everything, every person, every event, every rise and fall, was never random. It was all the choreography of your awakening. The heartbreak that once shattered you was the sound of your soul breaking open. The failure that humiliated you was the ego's initiation into humility. The loneliness you once cursed was solitude preparing you for the vastness of your own being. All of it, every shadow, every silence, every unanswered prayer, was your teacher. Detachment reveals this, because when you no longer cling, you can finally see clearly. Life stops being a battlefield and becomes a mirror, reflecting consciousness back to itself. You realize that the purpose of pain was never to punish, but to polish, to carve the sharp edges of attachment until only presence remains. This is where surrender becomes power, not the power of dominance, but of alignment. You move, but movement no longer comes from fear. You speak, but words no longer come from ego. You act, but your actions feel guided, as if something vast and silent moves through you. You have stopped trying to control the river. You have become the current, and in that flow, you meet the world with open hands. You give without calculation. You love without demand. You exist without apology. There is no need to convince, no hunger to be understood. You no longer defend who you are, because who you are needs no defense. People may still misunderstand you. They may call your calmness detachment, your silence indifference, your freedom aloofness. Let them. They have not yet seen how peace looks when it no longer needs an audience. You do not judge them. You simply understand, because once, you too believed that love meant clinging and strength meant control. Now you know, true strength is surrender. True love is spacious. True life is lived, not in grasping, but in allowing. You start to live in rhythm with existence itself. You give your best, then you release the outcome. You dream, but do not demand. You care, but do not cage. This is the paradox of awakened living. You are fully engaged with life, yet completely free from it. Each breath feels sacred now, each moment whole. There is nothing missing. There never was. And you understand, deep in the marrow of your being, what Jung meant when he said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Because now you are, unmasked, unchained, undivided. The self you once fought to protect has melted into something vast, a consciousness that belongs to no one, and yet includes everything. You walk slower now. You listen more. You laugh. But the laughter comes from a quieter place. When pain visits again, and it will, you no longer resist it. You bow to it, as an old friend reminding you that even suffering belongs to the dance. For detachment is not an ending. It is a beginning. The beginning of life lived awake. Life that participates fully, but clings to nothing. You realize the secret was never to rise above life, but to sink so deeply into the present that nothing can pull you away from it. You have returned home, not to a place, but to presence itself. Everything is still as it was, and yet nothing is the same, because you are no longer seeking. You are seeing. You are no longer holding on. You are letting be. And in this simple act of letting be, the universe moves through you freely, as love, as awareness, as life itself. So now, as you sit in this quiet afterglow, take a breath. Feel it enter. Feel it leave. Neither clinging nor resisting, just watching. This is all detachment ever asked of you, to return to what is real, to what has always been here, beneath every fear, beneath every name. Awareness itself, infinite, still, and free. If this truth found its echo within you, whisper it silently to yourself. I let go, and I awaken.